Sticking with beer, you want something stronger?
I quit drinking, I'll stick with beer. Welcome to the oil business.
What is up, chocolatiers? Very excited to make this video right here. I've been waiting a while for the show to end, and just last night, Landman has ended with Billy Bob Thornton. Now, if you watch my Yellowstone final season review or any shows I've talked about with Taylor Sheridan, I have pretty much talked about Landman and how it is like his best show that he's made. And seeing how Yellowstone ended, and I get Landman has not ended at the time, but as a season one, it's hitting the tier list. It's at number one right now. Landman is outstanding. Landman stars Billy Bob Thornton, Demi Moore, John Hamm, just to name like the big stars. And basically it's just like the show says. So it takes place in like the oil industry. John Hamm is like this CEO of like this Fortune 500 like oil company or whatever. And while he's out here producing, you know, the money side of stuff, he's got Billy Bob Thornton who's boots on the ground. So he's the guy that's in charge of all these landfills, all these mining corporations, all this other stuff, blah blah. So he's doing all that type of stuff. And you've got these bridging stories. So when the show starts off, he's going against the cartel. He's making a deal with them because they are using their roads to distribute drugs, stuff like that. And it really sets the tone in episode one how the show's going to go. And so the two other bridging story passes, you have his son, who is pretty much the Landman, and I'm liking where they're going with his story. And then you have his daughter and his wife, their combined storylines. So pretty much to remove some confusion, or I guess some disdain, because I've seen a lot of people complain about it. So I've seen a lot of people don't like the other two storylines, and for me, I really enjoyed all the storylines. So let me start with the mother and his daughter, right? They are pretty much there for comic relief, right? They're two baddies. They're out there being fine as hell, being sexy. They're dumb as hell. They're airheaded blondes, right? But they're hot, okay? And Tommy, you know, his woman, that's his ex-wife in the show, and she comes back into play because she is still in love with him. She wants to be with him. She leaves the man that she's with, comes home to him, you know. And the daughter is also there as well. And there is an infamous scene that I'm sure you guys have been seeing around the internet where she's basically making that comment where she's like, she's telling him, she's like, yeah, I won't let him come. She's like, he, as long as he doesn't come in me, he can come anywhere on me. And it's like just crazy shit like that. And he's like, I need a Dr. Pepper, right? And this show easily became a swap up. Since the beginning of the episode, like I said, setting the tone, it's like, okay, this is like a drama, you know, it might get into some action, some crazy shit going on, but it easily becomes a comedy. This show is one of the funniest shows I've seen in years. And that's where I think Taylor Sheridan does his best writing, because like you look at the early seasons of Yellowstone, some of the scenes with Jimmy where they're like fucking roasting his ass, calling him out, scenes in Mayor King's Landing, I feel like his comedy elements are very overlooked and people just ignore them. And in Landman, he just really explores this deep comedy. And so that's why I'm talking about the mother and the daughter first, because both of them, their whole plot line pretty much evolves from them, I would say halfway through the season, once they kind of get like grounded and understood, like you get their, you know, plot line and stuff like that. They are pretty much helping out these old people at this old folks home, and they're like taking them to like the strip club, drinking with them, partying and stuff like that. Because they're like, because even though they're airheaded and they're dumb, they have a good heart. At the end of the day, they're like, hey, we want to do something nice for these people, like whatever. And every time they cut to that, is that having to do with the main plot? No. But what I don't understand with people on Twitter is like, you'll get online and like you see people like, those storylines suck. And I'm just like, dude, it's supposed to be funny. Like, I'm sorry that you don't have the capacity to laugh. I'm sitting there going, man, that's so funny. People are like, I can't believe they brought those old people to the strip. Like, that's the fucking point. They brought 80-year-old people to the strip club and had some dude rubbing dick in her face. And she's like, oh, fuck. Like, that's the point. That's the joke. It's not supposed to be serious. And so then when you want the serious plot lines, you go to Tommy and you go to his son. So Tommy, like I said, he's like the Landman. He's like the guy kind of in charge of stuff while John Hamm's doing his stuff. And so he's dealing with accidents, people dying at work, sad shit. He's dealing with like I said, all the boots on the ground stuff. So like, they got an attorney hired because some crazy shit happens. Because episode 1, the plot gets set up because his son is on a crew with these men. I'm not going to tell you the characters that the men are, because these were characters I thought were going to be main parts of the show, but they do end up dying because this big, like this oil rig just explodes on them, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, they have OSHA violations, they're not doing stuff right that they're supposed to be doing, whatever. And so that leads into the son's plot, because the son has now pretty much getting blamed for this accident. There are the family members that he's with, the cousins, uncles, brothers, and that, they beat his ass. They gang up on him, whole 9 yards, and he ends up having this redeeming arc where he ends up going with, now this is a little controversial, he goes with one of the girls of the guy who died, and it's not intentional, and the way that Taylor Sheridan writes it, they both know it's wrong. They're both like, hey, we can't fight these feelings, whatever, this and that. And even in the finale, they're still kind of like, this is too soon, but like, it's like they can't fight those feelings, right? And so, yeah, I just really love this show. I love where all the characters went. I would say one of my little nitpicks is that Demi Moore and John Hamm are very underutilized. I'm really only focused on Demi Moore because she's like in all the fucking ads for this show when it comes on, and literally every single ad it's playing, it's like, oh yeah, Demi Moore's in it. Demi Moore really only has lines in the final episode. Every time she shows up, she's like swimming. She'll say what's up to Tommy, or like do a snap play. She's like very sidelined, and I wonder if they did it because the way this show kind of ends, she might be a bigger part in season 2. I don't know how they're going to do that, but maybe it's one of those things where it's like, hey, a character starts off small, but then gonna get a bigger role, whatever. But John Hamm, the reason why I'm saying a little underutilized is because there's some stuff that happens in the last 3 episodes or so, and I really feel like it didn't fully earn where it kind of got to. But overall, though, as a character, he's a force to be reckoned with. He's that John Hamm seriousness that you want from characters that he plays. At this point, he kind of plays the same type of character, if that makes sense. Very like in power, in charge, John Hamm. But yeah, this is a really good show. I almost want to say if you're a Taylor Sheridan fan, which I know he has 1923 coming out next month, but if you're just a fan of good TV and you want a good laugh, you like Billy Bob Thornton, and also you want to learn a lot of stuff about, a lot of this, like the old, production, stuff like that, whatever. I don't know how much of it's fully true or not, but there's like a lot of things that he says. Like, for example, in the final episode, I really like this line that he tells the attorney that they have on there. She's talking about how like fracking and this and that hurts the planet and all this stuff like that. And like he tells her, he's like, okay, then he's like, you're gonna go hunt your own food. You're gonna go out here and, quit driving your Mercedes. You're gonna sit over here and sleep in a tent. You gonna do this and that. I'm just saying, like, and I always say that too. Like, people will get mad, like, for example, they'll hate on Apple, they'll hate on this and that. Meanwhile, they're still driving their car, they're still coming home watching TV on their Sony, on their LG, this and that. And like, the show, while most people might not agree with the messages, seems to have decent enough writing where it's not fooling your face, but a lot of the things that they say have a lot of truth to it. And like I said, a lot of truth that's dealt with comedy. There's a lot of laughs in the show, and overall, really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give this show overall a 10 out of 10, masterpiece, silver approval. I wanted to drop it a little bit lower just because I feel like this is the first show I finished of the year, and I'm just like, man, that's a 10. But yeah, every episode I enjoyed, edge of my seat, a lot of the episodes. Every week I was ready, Sunday morning, ready to play this show, ready to go. This was an outstanding series. Definitely check it out, and like, subscribe. Catch you guys on the next one.
The world has already convinced itself that you are evil.
I love my popcorn. Movies, popcorn.